Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet.
This review covers the Time Machine Mark IV from Polar Lights. This is kit number POL 932, issued by Round 2 from the Back to the Future 3 movie. This time, the model gets its 55 wheels swapped out for, you guessed it, train wheels. The kit's a 125 scale kit, listed as a skill 2 level, and although it's a snap kit, it requires some paint for finishing. The model includes about 60 parts molded in gray, clear, chrome, and brushed steel finish for the body and some metal axles. It's kind of a re-release, as there were original releases around the time of the movie, but the brushed steel has been added and really makes the model look much more realistic. So, in effect, you get a great looking kit, and you also still continue to get the both the lightning rod and Mr. Fusion, as well as the plutonium reactor. So those will be one of those will be spare for you. The build is simple, but painting is detail specific, and we can go to the internet, download reference photos for decals and things, because the only ones that come with this are the license plates. So the overall dimensions of the kit are approximately 7 inches in length, 3 inches in width, and 2 1/4 inches high. But on the included railroad section stand, it's 7 3/4 inches long, 3 3/4 inches wide. The license plates decals for this kit come in both water slide and sticker versions, and those are the only decals provided. For most of the construction, I use Model Master liquid cement and sometimes a slow setting tube glue, but other adhesives are used too for strength like super glue and white glue for clear parts. Mostly the paints are Tamiya acrylic bottle paints that are shot through an airbrush, or rattle can paints that can be used for things like primers. This build starts with the dashboard, so gather these parts up. Also, there aren't any decals for the gauges or anything on the dash, so go to the internet and just search for DeLorean Back to the Future dash instruments, and you'll find some suitable ones. Print those out on a color printer, and then cover them up with a piece of glossy cellophane tape, cut them out to fit, and then use some white glue to. Of course, we'll have to finish the dash before we put those decals in place, so paint the dash gray, the wheel black, and the clock gold, with a white and black hand face. Then the components on the dash, from the top left there to the right, are black, white, and then behind the alarm clock, 2 red pods. There's some multiple wires there. Just use different colors for the wiring. Add the instrument panel, time circuits, and plutonium gauge decals if you printed some out, or paint the details in there the best you can, and install the wheel and add the clock. Get the parts out from the kit to assemble the interior, and first we're going to need to paint those gray, and then detail it with some color paint later. The rear panel on the interior tub, however, is flat black. The time controller on the console is painted silver, and there's some black for the shifter there. Now add some color to resemble wires on the time controller, and the seats can be added into place at this time. The back panel can be detailed now. So there are a lot of online sources to take a look and get an idea of how you want to finish this off. I just use a simplified form by painting the control boxes behind the passenger seat black with some gold highlights. The flux capacitor is white with a black surround case, and the circuit board behind the driver's seat is silver. I add some gold to the small part beside that, and some silver to the canisters, and you can pretty much detail it however you like, but there are a lot of references online for you to use. Now you can finish installing the rest of the interior parts by adding the dash into place. Install the rear panel and then snap the door panels to the dash floor and rear panel. Just for fun, I printed out a copy that I found of Doc and Marty standing next to the clock face on the tower, and I sized it to scale and then just dropped it on the seat with a little white glue. Detail the rear panel as you like. There's once again a lot of references online. I just used a few different shades of silver and some red, blue, and green for the items there. Now paint the two parts on the left side there, those tubes, green, assemble them and add them into place on the passenger side. Now we'll paint the chassis pan flat black, but before we do that, there's a Polar Lights logo there that needs to be removed with a hobby knife and some sandpaper, and also some copyright script that can just be wiped clean with some lacquer thinner, and then lightly sanded. Give it a good coat of primer, and then use some flat black to cover the whole chassis pan. And then you can detail it as I did here with some silver, some gloss blacks. After that's dry, you can flip it over and snap that interior pan tub onto the chassis pan. Although the body has a stainless steel finish, there's still some details you need to do to make it look like a real car. The rear bumper and the rear is black, and the rear panel is gray. The inner rear panel, the side moldings, and the lower side panels are black. The front nose panel is gray, and the front bumper, spoiler, and grille are black, and the grille has a silver DMC logo. The wires on the sides are red and gray. The cowl wipers and the mirrors are black, as well as the rear window vents. Now grab the windows and the center console from the roof there out of the kit, and notice that you'll be installing the windows with some clear glue. But before you do that, paint the center console gray with black and silver highlights on the buttons. And there's also on the side of the window, there's a little a trim there that needs to be painted black. So after you dry that, add that window by snapping it into the body, and then add the console as it snaps into place too. Now you can put the chassis into the body, turn the body upside down, start at the rear at about a 45-degree angle. Spread the sides out a little bit, and then shoehorn the chassis in, and it will snap right into place. Pull out the brake light assembly and the wiring harness for the rear, and then the brake lights are supposed to be black with red lenses and white backup lenses. So paint the framework black and the lens area stoplight red with the inner line of lights white. Now the framework is gray on the wire assembly, and the lower connectors are blue-gray. The wires are red. The upper connectors are blue-gray with silver and black components. Install the taillights now, and you can add license plate too. Now snap the lower panel into place, and then snap the top panel into the roof, and then line up those panels with the other connector panels there. Now we'll add the front wiring harnesses and the headlights. So install the side parts to the wire panel, and then install the headlights, and use some clear glue there to put a little film on the headlights to give it more of a lens look for authenticity. Then paint the wire panel gray with blue-gray connectors on the ends. The wires that are on the additional parts are black. Now install the front wire panel to the car. The rear exhaust units are painted flat black, and the inner louvers are then installed in place, and that unit snaps onto the rear panel. Paint the tubes there, the lines steel, and they run from the outside of the exhaust to the back panel in the car. Here are the two power plant intake choices. You'll be using the Mr. Fusion for version 4 of the Time Machine, so paint the base aluminum and the center mount black and the Mr. Fusion unit white. The lines are steel colored. Now to install those, take the Mr. Fusion intake and place it between the exhausts there in that area on the lid, and then one line runs from the base forward base of the intake to the back panel in the car, and the other line is a jumper that goes from side to side just in front of where the intake is. Wheel assembly is next. We have the two wheels in the metal axle, so paint the steel, the rims steel color, and then insert an axle into the back side of one rim after it's dried, and then slide it into the chassis. Attach another rim to the other side, and then make the other set to attach to the front as well. The last portion of the auto build is the replacement time circuit, and there's a lot of examples of details for it on the internet. I made a simplified detailing to match the car, and the box is wood tone with brown leather straps. The components are painted various tones of gray, silver, red, black, and steel. Just do the detailing however you feel comfortable, and then add the hoses to it. And there's a piece of double-sided tape, so you can stick one side to the bottom of that and attach it in place in the center of the hood. The kit comes with a center section of railroad track for a display stand. So paint the rocks gray with a wash of flat black for picking out the highlights. And then the track ties are dark brown and the rails are rusty color. Mount the rails in place on the rail bed and then add the car on top of those for display. Make sure that the car is sitting straight on the train rails and all four of the wheels are contacting those rails. And here's a completed front and rear view of the vehicle. You won't have many parts left over from this kit, just the alternate intake and the license tags that you didn't use. Well, there it is, the final act, the final version of the Mark IV time machine. The kit itself was a simple build in a sense. It's like a curbside with an interior, but the detailing is where the difference makes this a real standout. You can do all kinds of things to this model. You can detail paint all the parts that come with it, or you can supplement with some small circuit parts or wires of your own. Either way, it's a great looking kit when it's done, and if for the real Back to the Future fan, all four versions are available from Polar Lights. And you won't find there's any problems with construction of the normal kit. The parts are fairly straight, there's very little flash, everything snaps in and kind of fits very well together. So although a moderate builder could build this, an advanced modeler could really make this thing shine. In fact, you could consider it a contest base. So grab one or all of these kits and make yourself a Back to the Future time machine. We hope you liked this premium quality step-by-step review, and so that you don't miss any more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, but you can find us on Facebook and also at our website, www.rightonreplicas.com. Thanks!